Welcome to our deep dive, into ethical AI.
Absolutely.
Today we're going to be exploring the OECD AI principles.
Right.
And these are a global blueprint for responsible AI development
Yeah,
that has already been adopted by 47 countries.
that's right. And they're not just some abstract concept gathering dust, on a shelf.
Yeah.
These principles are actually shaping real-world policies like the EU's AI Act and Canada's Artificial Intelligence and Data Act.
Okay, so we're talking about a big deal here.
Absolutely.
But why should the average person care about these principles?
Yeah.
How do they actually impact our lives?
Well, think about it this way. By 2030, the AI market is projected to be worth a staggering $1.8 trillion.
Wow.
That means AI is going to be woven into almost every aspect of our lives,
Right.
from the products we buy to the jobs we do.
So AI is basically going to be everywhere, touching everything we do.
Exactly. And without some ethical guardrails,
Right.
we could be sleepwalking into a future where AI is used to discriminate against people.
Oh, wow. Violate our privacy or even displace millions of workers.
That's a pretty stark picture.
It is.
Can you give me some real-world examples of how things could go wrong without these principles in place?
Sure, we've already seen cases where facial recognition technology has misidentified people
Yeah.
based on their ethnicity, leading to wrongful arrests.
Right. Yeah.
Imagine going about your day and suddenly being apprehended by law enforcement because an algorithm made a mistake.
That's terrifying.
It is.
It's like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it's happening in real life.
It is, and it's just one example.
Wow.
Another concern is the vast amount of personal data that AI systems rely on.
Right.
A recent OECD survey found that 60% of people
Wow.
are worried about how their data is being used in AI applications.
I can see why people are worried. It feels like our personal information is being collected and analyzed everywhere we go,
Right.
both online and offline.
Yeah.
And what about the impact on jobs? That's something I'm hearing a lot of people worry about, too. Absolutely. The World Economic Forum estimates that 85 million jobs could be lost
Right.
to AI by 2025.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
Sure.
They also predict that 97 million new jobs could be created as a result of AI adoption.
So it's not just about job losses.
Right.
It's about a major shift in the types of jobs that will be available.
Precisely. The key is to manage this transition responsibly.
Okay.
That means investing in education and retraining programs to help people adapt to the changing job market.
Right.
It also means designing AI systems that work alongside humans, not just replace them.
Now that we've seen what's at stake,
Yeah.
let's explore how these OECD principles can actually protect us.
Okay.
They sound like the potential solution to all these problems we've been discussing.
They're a good starting point for sure.
Yeah.
The principles were first adopted in 2019
Okay.
and then updated just last year in 2024, which shows they're evolving to keep pace with the rapid development of AI.
Right.
There are 5 core principles:
Okay.
transparency and explainability, accountability, fairness and non-discrimination,
Yeah.
robustness and safety, and inclusive growth and well-being.
Okay, 5 principles.
Yes.
I think I can handle that. Could we break those down a bit so they're easier to grasp?
Of course, let's start with transparency and explainability.
What?
This principle is all about ensuring that AI systems are open and understandable.
Right.
People should be able to comprehend how decisions are being made,
Yeah.
especially if those decisions directly affect them.
So it's not about treating AI like some kind of magical black box.
Right.
We need to be able to look under the hood, so to speak,
Exactly.
and understand how it ticks.
Yes, it's about being able to see the gears turning.
Right.
For example, say you apply for a loan and are denied.
Okay.
Transparency means you have the right to know exactly how the AI system reached that decision,
Yeah.
what factors it considered,
Right.
and how it weighed those factors.
Makes sense.
The OECD recommends using plain language explanations. So you don't need a PhD in computer science to understand what's going on.
That makes perfect sense. It's about giving people the power to challenge outcomes they think are unfair.
Exactly.
Okay, next up, accountability. Right.
Right.
What does that mean in the context of AI?
Accountability means making sure that someone is responsible if an AI system causes harm.
Okay.
This principle emphasizes clear lines of responsibility throughout the entire AI life cycle.
Okay.
It's not enough to just create cool technology.
Right.
We need to think about the potential consequences
Yeah.
and who's ultimately responsible.
I'm curious, though, who exactly is responsible?
Yeah.
Is it the developers who built the AI system?
It could be.
The companies that use it?
It could be.
Or the governments that regulate it?
It can be any or all of the above.
Okay.
This principle stresses documenting decisions,
Right.
ensuring systems can be audited,
Yeah?
and even decommissioning systems if they pose a serious risk.
Wow.
Think of it like building a skyscraper. You need architects, engineers, construction workers, and safety inspectors all working together
Yeah.
to ensure the building is safe and sound.
Right.
The same applies to AI development.
So it's about making sure that AI development doesn't become the Wild West,
Right.
where anything goes and no one is held accountable.
Exactly. We need structure oversight
Right.
and a clear understanding of who's responsible when things go wrong.
Now on to fairness and non-discrimination.
Yeah.
This seems especially important given those potential biases we talked about earlier.
It's crucial.
Yeah.
This principle is all about ensuring that AI systems treat everyone fairly
Right.
and don't perpetuate existing societal biases.
Yeah.
Imagine an AI system used for hiring
Okay.
that was trained on data mostly from male candidates.
Right.
It might end up unfairly favoring male applicants over equally qualified female applicants.
That's exactly the kind of bias we need to guard against.
Exactly.
So how do these principles help us do that?
The OECD emphasizes the need for inclusive AI systems that empower underrepresented groups.
Right.
That means using diverse data sets,
Yeah.
testing for unintended bias,
Okay.
and involving diverse perspectives throughout the entire AI development process.
It sounds like it's not enough to just avoid harm.
Right.
We need to actively promote equality and inclusion through AI. I like that.
Exactly.
Okay, what's next?
Next is robustness and safety,
Okay.
which means that AI systems need to be secure, reliable, and able to operate safely, even in unexpected circumstances.
Right.
This is especially important for AI systems that operate in high-stakes environments,
Yeah.
like healthcare or transportation.
So, for example, if a self-driving car encounters a situation it's never seen before,
Exactly.
it needs to be able to handle it safely without putting human lives at risk.
Exactly. The 2024 update to the principles even includes provisions for overriding AI systems that exhibit undesired behavior.
Oh, wow.
Think of it like an emergency brake for AI.
That's reassuring.
It is.
Now on to the final principle, inclusive growth and well-being. Can you explain what that means?
This principle is all about ensuring that AI benefits everyone,
Right.
not just a select few.
Yeah.
It encourages using AI to address big challenges like climate change, poverty, and healthcare disparities, things that affect all of us.
So it's about using AI for the greater good, not just for profit or personal gain.
Precisely. It's about making sure that AI contributes to a more just and sustainable world for all.
These principles all sound incredibly important.
Yeah.
But how do they actually get put into practice?
Right.
Are they just lofty ideals?
Oh,
Or are they having a tangible impact on how AI is developed and used in the real world?
they're definitely having an impact.
Okay.
We've already talked about how they're influencing global policies,
Yeah.
but it goes beyond that. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore some real-world examples of how these principles are being put into action.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
I'm definitely intrigued.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to seeing how these abstract ideas translate into concrete actions. Until next time.
See that?
Welcome back to our deep dive into the OECD AI principles.
Yes.
Last time we talked about why these principles are so important,
We did.
especially as AI becomes increasingly integrated into our lives.
Right.
We also went through each of the 5 principles:
Yeah.
transparency, accountability, fairness, robustness, and inclusive growth.
Right.
These are the guideposts for ethical AI development,
Absolutely.
right? And now I'm really curious to see how these somewhat abstract principles
Yeah.
translate into action in the real world.
Well, let's take healthcare as an example.
Okay.
AI is revolutionizing this field,
Right.
from diagnosing diseases to developing new treatments.
Okay, so how do the OECD principles come into play in that context?
Imagine an AI system that's
Okay.
been trained to analyze medical images like X-rays or CT scans
Right.
to help doctors detect signs of cancer.
That sounds incredibly useful.
Yeah,
It could potentially save lives by catching cancer early when it's most treatable.
absolutely. But here's where things can get tricky. What if the AI system was trained primarily on data from patients of a certain demographic,
Okay.
say people of European descent?
Ah, I see where you're going with this. The system might not be as accurate for patients from other backgrounds,
Exactly.
which could lead to misdiagnoses or misinterpretations.
Exactly. And that's where the principle of fairness and non-discrimination comes in.
Okay.
Developers need to ensure that the data used to train these AI systems is diverse and representative of the populations they're intended to serve.
So it's not enough to just create a sophisticated AI system.
Right.
We need to consider the data it's built on
Yeah.
and who it's designed to help.
Precisely. And once the system is deployed in a hospital or clinic,
Right.
the principle of transparency becomes essential.
Okay.
Doctors need to understand how the AI arrived at its conclusions.
Yeah.
They shouldn't just blindly trust the algorithm's output.
So they need to be able to see, in a way, the AI's thought process.
Yes.
Why did it flag this area of the scan as potentially cancerous?
Right.
What factors did it consider?
Exactly. Transparency means providing doctors with the information they need
Right.
to make informed decisions about their patient's care. It's about using AI as a tool to augment human expertise,
Right.
not replace it entirely.
That brings us back to the idea of AI and humans working together as a team.
Exactly.
Now, what about accountability?
Yeah.
Let's say this AI system makes a mistake
Yeah.
and a patient is harmed as a result.
Right.
Who's ultimately responsible?
That's a complex question.
Yeah.
And it highlights why clear lines of responsibility are so crucial.
Yeah.
The OECD principles emphasize robust mechanisms for investigating AI-related incidents.
Okay.
Was it a flaw in the algorithm?
Right.
Was the training data biased?
Right.
Did the doctor override the AI's recommendation, or did they rely on it too heavily?
Okay.
Answering these questions is essential for determining who is liable and preventing similar incidents from happening in the future.
So it's not just about preventing harm,
Right.
but also having a clear system in place to address it when it does occur. And these principles apply beyond healthcare.
Right, absolutely. These are universal principles
Yeah.
that can guide AI development and deployment in any field.
This makes me think about the future of work, a topic we touched on earlier.
Yeah,
We talked about the potential for AI to displace jobs,
right.
but what about the new jobs AI might create?
That's a key aspect of the inclusive growth and well-being principle.
Okay.
As AI automates certain tasks,
Right.
it opens up opportunities for new roles that require uniquely human skills.
Like what? Give me some concrete examples.
Well, think about AI trainers.
Okay.
These are the people who teach AI systems how to perform specific tasks.
Okay.
They curate data-refined algorithms and ensure that AI is learning effectively.
So instead of being replaced by AI, some people will be employed to teach it.
Exactly. And as AI systems become more complex,
Yeah.
we'll need people who can explain how they work,
Yeah.
both to experts and to the general public, right? That's where the field of AI explainability comes in.
Right.
We also need people who can ensure that AI systems are aligned with human values.
Right.
That's the role of AI ethicists.
It seems like we'll need people who can bridge the gap between technology and ethics,
Absolutely.
who can help us navigate this new world where AI is becoming increasingly integrated into our lives.
Exactly. AI is creating entirely new fields of expertise
Wow.
that we couldn't have even imagined a few years ago.
Right.
It's not just about replacing jobs, it's about transforming the very nature of work itself.
Yeah.
And the OECD AI principles can help guide this transformation in a positive direction, one that benefits everyone.
Okay, so we've seen how these principles can be applied in specific fields like healthcare.
Right.
But how do we make sure they're actually being implemented effectively across the board?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
There's no magic bullet.
Right.
But there are several mechanisms to promote accountability and ensure these principles are put into practice.
Okay.
One approach is independent audits.
Okay.
Think of it like a safety inspection for AI systems.
So an independent organization comes in and checks to see if an AI system meets certain ethical standards.
Exactly. These audits can look at things like the data used to train the AI,
Right.
the transparency of its decision-making process,
Yeah.
and its potential impact on fairness and non-discrimination.
Right.
They can be conducted by third-party organizations or by internal teams within companies developing AI.
That sounds like a good way to provide oversight and make sure companies are following the rules,
Mhm.
not just paying lip service to ethical AI.
Right. Another important mechanism is public pressure.
Okay.
As consumers become more aware of the potential risks of AI,
Yeah.
they're demanding greater transparency and accountability from the companies they interact with.
It's the power of the people we can choose to support companies that are developing and using AI ethically.
Precisely. And we can't forget the role of government regulations.
Right.
As we've discussed, policies like the EU's AI Act are turning these principles into law,
Right.
creating legal consequences for violations.
So it's a multi-pronged approach.
Yes.
Audits, public pressure, and government regulations all working together to keep AI development on the right track.
That's the idea. It's about creating a system of checks and balances to ensure that AI serves humanity,
Right.
not the other way around.
Speaking of serving humanity earlier,
Yeah.
you mentioned that AI could be used to address global challenges like climate change.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Of course, one of the most promising applications of AI is in the realm of energy optimization.
Okay, how does that work exactly?
Imagine AI systems that can analyze energy usage patterns in buildings
Okay,
and identify ways to reduce waste.
okay,
They could adjust heating and cooling systems,
right.
optimize lighting,
Okay.
and even predict when maintenance is needed to prevent energy-intensive breakdowns.
So AI could help us make our homes and offices more energy efficient.
Exactly. And on a larger scale, AI can be used to manage entire power grids more intelligently,
Wow.
balancing supply and demand and integrating renewable energy sources like solar and wind power more seamlessly.
That's amazing. It sounds like AI could play a critical role in our transition to a more sustainable energy future.
It certainly has the potential. AI can also be used to develop new materials for carbon capture and storage.
Wait, so AI could help us remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere? That's incredible.
It's a complex challenge,
Yeah,
but AI can accelerate our progress by analyzing vast data sets
right.
and identifying promising solutions. It can also help us develop more efficient and cost-effective methods for capturing and storing carbon.
This is really encouraging. It seems like AI has the potential to not only solve existing problems,
Right.
but also prevent new ones from arising.
That's the hope, but we have to remember that AI is a tool.
Right.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
Right.
The OECD AI principles provide a framework for steering this powerful technology toward a brighter, more ethical future.
It's inspiring to see how these principles are already being put into action in so many different sectors,
Absolutely.
from healthcare to energy. And as AI continues to evolve, these principles will become even more crucial in shaping a world where technology serves humanity.
Absolutely.
This has been an incredibly insightful exploration of the OECD AI principles and their real-world applications.
It has.
We've seen how these principles can guide AI development towards a more ethical and beneficial future.
We have.
But our deep dive isn't over yet. In the final part, we'll explore some potential challenges and limitations of these principles.
Right.
We'll also consider what the future holds for AI
Yes.
and what role these principles will play as we continue to navigate this exciting and uncharted territory.
Right.
Stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the OECD AI principles. We've covered a lot of ground, from the potential pitfalls of unregulated AI to inspiring examples of ethical AI in action.
We've explored the 5 core principles
Right.
that form the foundation for responsible AI development.
Exactly.
Transparency, accountability, fairness, robustness, and inclusive growth.
Right. But as with any set of guidelines, there are bound to be challenges and limitations when it comes to putting these principles into practice.
Yeah.
What are some of the hurdles we might encounter?
One challenge is the sheer pace of AI development.
Yeah.
Technology is advancing so rapidly
Right.
that it can be difficult for ethical considerations to keep up.
Right. It feels like every day there's a new breakthrough,
Yeah,
a new application of AI.
absolutely.
How can we ensure that ethical considerations aren't left behind in this race for innovation?
That's the question, isn't it? The OECD principles provide a framework,
Right.
but it's up to governments, companies, and individuals to make sure those principles are embedded in the design, development, and deployment of AI systems.
Another challenge I've heard about is the issue of global enforcement.
Yeah,
The OECD principles are adopted by individual countries,
right.
but there's no overarching international body to ensure consistent implementation.
That's true.
What's to stop one country from cutting corners on ethics in order to gain a competitive advantage in the AI race?
That's a valid concern.
Yeah,
This highlights the need for greater international cooperation
right.
and harmonization of AI regulations.
It seems like a global problem requires a global solution.
Yeah.
Are there any efforts underway to address this?
There are certainly discussions happening at the international level.
Okay.
The OECD itself is facilitating dialogues between countries
Okay.
to share best practices and promote convergence around ethical AI principles, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
Okay, so international cooperation is one challenge.
Right.
What are some others?
Another hurdle is the inherent complexity of AI systems.
Okay.
Even for experts, it can be incredibly difficult to fully understand how some of these systems work.
Right.
We're talking about algorithms with millions, even billions of parameters making decisions in ways that can be opaque to human understanding.
So how can we ensure transparency and accountability if we don't even fully grasp the inner workings of these AI black boxes.
That's where the field of AI explainability comes in. Researchers are working on developing techniques to make AI systems more transparent and interpretable.
Okay.
For example, they're creating tools that can visualize how an AI system arrives at a particular decision,
Okay.
highlighting the factors it considered and how it weighed those factors.
So it's about lifting the veil on these complex algorithms, shedding light on their decision-making processes.
Exactly, and this is crucial for building trust in AI systems.
Right.
If people don't understand how AI is making decisions that affect their lives,
Right.
they're less likely to accept those decisions, even if they're fair and accurate.
That makes sense. Now, even with greater transparency, there's still the question of human bias. After all, AI systems are created by humans, and humans are inherently biased. How do we address that?
You're right. We can't just assume that AI will magically be free from the biases that exist in society.
Right.
It's about being mindful of potential biases throughout the entire AI development process.
So that means carefully selecting training data,
Yes.
testing for unintended bias,
Yes.
and involving diverse perspectives in the design and development of AI systems.
Precisely. It's about building ethical considerations into the very DNA of AI,
Right.
from the algorithms themselves to the data they're trained on and the people who create them.
This all leads to a more philosophical question. What does it even mean for an AI to be ethical? AI systems don't have morals or values in the same way humans do.
That's a deep question, and there's no easy answer. Ultimately, the ethics of AI boils down to how we as humans choose to design and use these systems. The OECD AI principles provide a framework for thinking about these ethical implications,
Yeah.
but it's up to us to put them into practice.
So it's not about teaching AI to be ethical. It's about holding ourselves accountable for the ethical implications of the technology we create.
Exactly. We have a responsibility to ensure that AI is used to benefit humanity, not to harm it.
It feels like this conversation about AI ethics is only just beginning. We're still grappling with these fundamental questions.
Mm.
And the technology is evolving faster than ever.
It is just the beginning as AI becomes more powerful and more pervasive.
Right.
These ethical considerations will only become more important.
So where do we go from here? What's the next chapter in this story?
The future of AI is being written right now. The choices we make today will determine the kind of world we create tomorrow. The OECD AI principles offer a roadmap, but it's up to all of us to navigate this uncharted territory and ensure that AI leads to a future that benefits all of humanity.
That's a powerful message and a perfect note to end on. This deep dive into the OECD AI principles has been both fascinating and thought-provoking.
It has been a pleasure.
I agree. It's been a pleasure exploring these complex issues with you, and to our listeners, we encourage you to continue exploring this topic. The future of AI depends on all of us engaging in these critical conversations. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious.